We believe that this is the point of divergence.
Season 4 of Game of Thrones?
Yes, after this, the show kind of veered off course and became a mockery of itself. Arya washing bodies for an hour, sand snakes, teleportation. The show was really doomed.
I'm sorry, what does this have to do with Westworld or me murdering Chad Summerchild?
We suspect that Chad Summerchild contacted a man named Greg. We brutally tortured Greg, making him rewatch Season 8, and he gave us a name. The Embalmer. So, go find him.
Huh. Kinda wish I had a bit more to go on.
And we open with William, back in the real world, going insane.
So we're just gonna gloss over how he survived Westworld? We're just not gonna address that. Because William was in bad shape with a mangled hand outside the forge, and then the entire valley around the forge was flooded, then somehow he just shows up with Stubbs 2 weeks later, and we get that weird-ass scene after the credits. We're just never going to explain that.
Well, I think at least the after the credits scene is being explained with William's insanity. Like it didn't happen?
Really, they're walking back the apocalypse. Okay, fine, but please explain to me how he got from the forge to Stubbs, how he survived the flood, and what he was doing for 2 weeks.
Maybe someone grabbed him when they were leaving the forge and gave him a bucket and some protein bars?
Who? Bernard? Because he was the only one left at the forge, and that's not really explained as the area was flooded.
Maybe Bernard swam back with the man in black on his back?
Okay, I would love to see that scene. Please, someone show me that scene.
Anyway, we then get this weird big dream sequence where William thinks blood and water are coming down on him.
Yeah, if there's one thing people love, it's surreal dream sequences. When finishing any piece of entertainment, the audience always says, "Man, I just wish there were more surreal dream sequences." Surreal dream sequences that have no impact on the plot whatsoever. Yup, that's what I love. Please, I have a fever. A fever for surreal dream sequences.
Well, Brandon.
Oh, and there's blood coming down, which is fucking great, as the man in black specifically tells Teddy that his wife took the wrong pills to kill herself in the first season. Thank goodness they are continuing on with that fuck up in season 2.
Brandon, we haven't even gotten to the opening credits of the show.
By all means, continue.
Anyway, arriving on the scene is not Charlotte, who is also disappointingly not the Minotaur. She wants William to come back to Delos, not because she needs his votes, she already has those, but she needs William to convince half the board to go with the private investor rather than to let Sarek take over.
And of course, later we find out this is all bullshit. She had no reason to come here and has no solution for getting half the board to vote for her.
Maybe she's going to create a fake William?
Probably. She still didn't have to come here.
We then get some random memories of Bernard and Arnold, leading to Bernard's rebuild.
Yeah, I never understood why Dolores rebuilt Bernard based on her memories of him rather than just grabbing his pearl. Seems like a tremendous amount of effort, if not impossible, to recreate someone based on the few actions you observed and those fidelity tests, especially when the alternative was so easy.
Maybe she wanted control over his code, or something. Bernard then heads past some rockets landing and a young boy who reminds him of Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie can go to hell. Stupid boy that never existed.
Well, now everything is a bit more complicated. Arnold's Charlie was real, but Bernard's Charlie was not, and now this new Bernard 2.0 seems to be a rebuild based on both Dolores' memories of Arnold and her memories of Bernard. So in a way, Bernard 2.0 is both Arnold and Bernard, and Charlie is based on both the real Charlie and the fake Charlie.
Crap, I'm so confused I don't even know if I can hate him. He's like my own personal Carol Baskin. Joe Exotic tells me one thing, but everything he says is a lie, so I don't know what is real and what isn't.
And then we get back to the room with the good buddies of Bernard and Stubbs, planning their next adventure. They've been through so much, these rascals. They covered up the murder of Teresa together, they followed around Carl Strand together, they did a 5-mile swim together. Anyway, Bernard has recently watched Futureworld or something and has figured out that Dolores' plan is to replace important people with hosts. And he believes that Liam has already been replaced.
If there's one thing season 1 has taught me, it's that Bernard is not the world's greatest detective.
Anyway, Bernard develops a button to control hosts, which works on Stubbs, and will supposedly work on the host that has replaced Liam, but for some reason Bernard never tries it on any Doloreses. And then we get to Dolores and Jesse, who is getting fitted for a new suit.
Wow, you totally know it's the future because the measuring tape is glowing. In the future, measuring tapes will glow. Solid prediction, Westworld. Solid prediction.
Anyway, Dolores tells Jesse that he has to pretend to be someone else to steal some money. And this leads us to Liam, who is on his way to a party when he's stopped by not Martin, who is sadly also not the Minotaur. So Martin wants Liam to hand over to a proxy the power to buy and sell his assets in an offshore account. Martin implies that Liam's personal accounts would be dangerous.
And I'm just gonna have to stop you. Let's set aside the fact that no human being would be stupid enough to hand over complete control to buy and sell their entire fortune. That's just idiocy. But even if Liam were that stupid, I need to say this again. This is one of the dumbest tropes in fiction. You can't electronically steal fortunes. You can't wipe people's wealth out instantaneously. People's money is tied up in things, and very importantly, it's diversified. Not Martin even mentions that Liam has offshore accounts and personal accounts, a fact that is later completely forgotten about. And here we actually see Liam's assets, and they are diversified. Now, this tablet is ridiculous, but I'm going to try to make sense of it. First, we have global equity. I imagine they mean global equity of stocks, as equity by itself just means share value. So let's try to sell this. First off, are markets open? Because stocks are sold on markets. New York is probably not open as Liam is heading to an evening party and they're in LA. Europe is also closed. But even if they were open, it's global stocks. It's international. Somewhere in the world is closed. It would take at least 24 hours to get all of this money. Next, he has taxable bonds. I'm not sure why they're in an offshore account, as offshore accounts are used to hide taxes, but okay. And then there's direct investment. That's money tied up in businesses, some whom simply don't have the cash to pay Liam back. That money would take weeks, months, or even years to get. Then there's commodities like gold, which are sold on a market, which are closed. Then there's real estate, something that takes months to sell. Next is private equity, which is actually the same thing as direct investment, so that's dumb. And after that, it's venture capital, which is just riskier direct investment. Again, all of this money is tied up in businesses. And finally, there's hedge funds, which are complicated investments with financial models that rely on a third-party manager. Getting money back from that would depend on the structure of the hedge fund. The point of all of this is you can't instantaneously steal someone's money.
I don't know, Brandon. I saw this movie called Now You See Me about a bunch of magicians who steal Michael Caine's money, and it all seemed pretty legit. Especially Dave Franco as Jason Bourne.
Anyway, after this, Dolores runs into the designated proxy, knocks him out, and takes his blood, then injects it into Jesse for identification purposes. Because it's completely logical that 1 ounce of someone else's blood in your system would override the 10 pints of your own. We then get to Sarek and Maeve in Singapore. Or maybe it's a CVS parking lot. Maeve is not impressed as she wanted to see Paris, and Sarek tells her that he and his brother are actually from Paris, but it's destroyed.
Where does brother go?
I don't know, raptured. Anyway, Sarek reveals that Dolores and hosts are not actually the threat he fears. Despite specifically calling Dolores a threat in episode 2, no, he fears humanity's future and wants a better computer to predict it, despite specifically saying that he had said computer but it merely stopped working in episode 2. And so Sarek wants the encryption key to the forge for the human data there, which happens to be the same encryption key for the Valley Beyond so Maeve can be with her daughter. Sarek then takes Maeve to Arnold's house, or the point of divergence, when his computer model stopped working and his planned future was ruined.
So we're back with the first story, that Rehoboam stopped working with Dolores.
Yes, apparently.
So I imagine his computer will work again once all hosts are removed from the world.
Presumably.
So what's he need the forge data for?
A better computer?
But Rehoboam is already good enough, as long as there aren't hosts.
Right.
So why does he need a better computer?
He wants Dolores.
Yeah, I got that. But does he want Dolores to make the current computer work again, or does he want Dolores to make a better computer?
I guess either.
Okay, so he has 2 contradictory motivations, both leading to killing Dolores. Okay, writers.
Anyway, inside, Sarek and Maeve find Dolores' host-making machine, which reads that 5 hosts have been made. I imagine that's Dolores, Bernard, fake Martin, fake Sato, and 1 last mystery host. Fake Charlotte had already been made. And then we get the beginnings of one of the most baffling plot threads we've yet to come across. So Sarek, I imagine with the help of his computers or something, notices that Jiang, an identity broker, received an unusually high payment from a dead man, and so Sarek deduces that this man is involved in Dolores' schemes. But Jiang is just a middleman, so Sarek tortures Jiang by showing him images of his family dying until he says that Dolores wanted 5 identities and gives up the alias, the Mortician. Then Sarek kills him, calling him a race traitor, not considering the fact that Maeve is kind of acting like one too.
So Sarek kills him with just the alias the Mortician. I mean, they didn't want her real name or her address or confirmation that it's really her. I mean, what if Jiang lied? And is the Mortician so famous that everyone knows her and where she operates? If so, why is she hiding under a nightclub? I mean, I'm supposed to believe that Sarek just really said to himself, ah yes, the Mortician on Ming Jing Lu under the nightclub, of course, and just shoots Jiang.
I mean, apparently she's that famous.
Then why didn't they go to her first? Why even involve themselves with Jiang? How many identity brokers can there be in Singapore? 2? 3? 7? Just go down the list. Also, if they saw Jiang's windfall, wouldn't they see the Mortician's windfall?
Brandon, it's only downhill with the CVS parking lot plot. Anyway, we next get to William enjoying some grapes and shaving in the family room, as he doesn't use the bathroom where his wife died, and his mansion apparently only has one bathroom.
Where does he shower?
Kitchen sink, I guess.
And where does he shit?
Backyard? Anyway, Not Charlotte then decides to help William shave his already shaven face, and they talk about who the mole could be. Of course, Charlotte was the mole, but this still doesn't explain who stole Maeve's brain. Anyway, we then get to Dolores and Jesse arriving at some sort of bank.
He keeps all of his money with one bank.
Yes,
Really? Over $300 million in one place.
that's the plot.
But on his tablet it showed his money was invested. It can't be both at a bank and invested.
Maybe this is a financial services firm of some sort?
No, we've established that Liam's financial services firm is Anderson Private Equity, where the proxy is from. This is making astoundingly little sense.
Anyway, the bank wants some ID, and so Jesse provides his thumb, and the tiny bit of someone else's blood in his system tells them that he's the proxy. And then Dolores and Jesse ask to transfer all of Liam's money out of his account into theirs. The clerk mentions that this is unusual, so Jesse tells her to do as she's told.
Oh God. First off, it's impossible to believe that anyone would allow a $300 million transfer via proxy. Second, an unusual transaction like this should be a huge red flag, especially with people giving her lip. A supervisor should definitely be called in, likely someone high up. Third, there is no way that a bank whose bread and butter is managing assets would give up the handling of $300 million without at least some inquiry into why. Fourth, there's no way the bank would have that much liquid money on hand. Banks invest and lend out their money that people deposit. The bank would need time to gather funds so large. What's enraging about this whole scene is that the tension is centered around Jesse's identity rather than, the fact that they are trying to convince a human being to let them do the impossible.
Whatever the case, we then go to Maeve walking around the CVS parking lot and realizing that now she's connected to all machines.
What? Where did that ability come from?
It's like when she could control other hosts?
No, that was because Maeve could tap into the host mesh network, controlling all machines. Why would she have this power?
Maybe something host mesh network internet of things?
More like a hot mesh network. Didn't they learn their mistake last season by making Maeve OP? They constantly had to undo it. Oh, Ghost Nation is different. Oh, that host is deaf. Oh, that host is leaking cortical fluid. They just made Maeve into a god. I imagine she can stop Sarek's button. Nothing should be able to stop her at this point.
Anyway, Maeve then waltzes up to the Mortician's hangout, which she somehow got the address for, and forces the bouncers to take her down to the Mortician while scrambling communication. The Mortician says that actually Dolores only wanted one identity for herself, not 5 like Jiang said, and wanted bodies smuggled out of the country, so she sent her to the Yakuza. Maeve then insists that the Mortician introduce them. We then jump to Liam at a prostitution auction reminiscent of the pariah orgy. Liam tries to put in a bid and finds out he has no money. He's about to contact Martin when Bernard and Stubbs intercept him.
Wow, what incredible timing for all of this. Bernard twiddles his thumbs for 3 months, gets discovered by thugs, decides to go to Westworld, goes there, comes back, and goes to intercept Liam at the exact same moment that Dolores' plan tries to get him. It's a good thing those thugs didn't try to get Bernard like a week later.
Anyway, Bernard quickly finds out that his button won't work because Liam is not a host. Still, they command him to come with them. Dolores then pops out and tries to kill Bernard and Stubbs, so Stubbs stays behind to fight Dolores to give Bernard a head start.
Doesn't Bernard have a button that can freeze hosts? Why doesn't he use it on Dolores?
Maybe it has to be configured to a particular host?
No, he was just trying to use it on Liam, a potential host he's never come across.
I don't know, Bernard's an idiot. Anyway, Stubbs and Dolores have a showdown, and to absolutely no one's surprise, Stubbs gets his ass handed to him.
It must be sad to be Stubbs and to fail at everything you've been programmed to do. That must explain why he's suicidal.
Anyway, Dolores passes by Liam's friend.
And we are reminded that this is all a simulation.
We then get back to Maeve arriving at the Yakuza's hangout. As God, Maeve unlocks the door and then proceeds to kill all the Yakuza with their robotic guns.
If I were the mortician, I'd be asking, can I go home now?
Well, she doesn't. Instead, they go downstairs, fight some dudes, and find out that Sato is shipping white fluid for some reason. And then find out that Sato, the head of the Yakuza, is really Musashi, but actually Dolores. And sadly not the Minotaur.
What? How? Why? Sweet Robin, I'm just so tired. I'm so very tired. So many questions. Why? If she needed to replace the head of the Yakuza, why wouldn't she just replace him with a host that looked like him? And how on earth did she get this new host to rise the ranks of the Yakuza so quickly? Seems like a lot of work when you can just replace the guy that's already there. And why would she choose Musashi? How would Dolores know that Musashi was a character important to Maeve? How would she know what happened between Maeve and Musashi? How does she even know what Musashi looks like? And why choose someone important to Maeve? Why would she even think Maeve was coming for her? I mean, it was just last episode that Dolores discovered that Sarek was seeking her out. I just have absolutely no faith that this will be explained.
Brandon, you just gotta chill out. Remember, it's all a simulation.
Anyway, the mortician gets killed, should have asked to go home, and Maeve and Musashi Dolores have a showdown.
Can't Maeve control hosts?
Maybe not anymore?
Can't Maeve control machines?
Whatever the case, Musashi Dolores stabs Maeve and flees the scene. We then get to Bernard, who's stopped by Jesse. Bernard questions what he's doing before Not Martin arrives on the scene. Not Martin shoots his guards, tells Liam to run, then tells Jesse to go after him. Not Martin then confiscates Bernard's button and reveals that he is another Dolores.
So somehow Martin Dolores knows about Bernard's button and its function despite being across the room, but Bernard can't remember the thing. Okay.
Meanwhile with William, he's just about ready to go to Delos.
He must be pretty annoyed that Not Charlotte is standing in his bathroom.
William has one last discussion with his hallucination before Not Charlotte reveals that she knows that he's nuts and that she is in fact another Dolores. William flips out and is grabbed by men who are not Delos employees, but workers at an insane asylum.
First off, involuntary commitment to an asylum is pretty rare in America. But if it happens, it's usually after an individual has broken the law, has been examined by professionals, and has been ordered by a court to an institution. You can't just kidnap someone and lock them up. But even if we suppose one can, why didn't Charlotte Dolores do it earlier, when the man in black was acting nuts at the beginning of the episode? Why spend all of this time to convince him to come back to Delos? In fact, why spend any time to come here in the first place? Charlotte Dolores already had his voting power, and it looks like he was suffering at his house. Why make him suffer in a different location? What's the point?
I mean, she does prick his neck. Maybe she needed his DNA?
Then go through his trash or grab one of the turds in the backyard. This whole visit was utterly pointless.
Anyway, we catch up with Liam, who has been captured by Jesse and Dolores, and in our final scene we have William, committed, seeing visions of Dolores, and wondering if he is truly himself.
Yeah, I'm not sure why this question has been haunting him for so long. He owns Westworld. Just ask for a tablet and scan yourself.
I am the man who will fight for your honor. I'll be the hero. Oh, hey there. I was wondering if you were the embalmer. Wait a minute, aren't you Uyghur Brandon?
No, I'm the woman in black.
Well, I'm looking for Chad Summerchild, so please hand him over. By the way, I'm pretty much a god, if not a demigod.
Well, I happen to know God's weakness. Samurai swords!